Wag, 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 wag. I got that stuck in my head now.
See? Catchy.
Stupid little twerking pig.
It's adorable.
Okay, so what we should be talking about, Anna, is right now, if we go to do you guys like when you're watching the videos back and you hear
That's my favorite part of
She's all like, what's wrong in there? There?
Yeah.
Or there? Yeah, that's my home address.
We live on the same street.
Really?
Yeah.
14th Avenue South?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
In Burien?
Yeah. Oh, not in Burien.
Oh.
In Burien too.
Yeah,
Oh, weird.
yeah.
I don't know how you did it.
Okay, so right now,
Yeah.
okay, everybody back up here. What are you guys doing? Why is Alec under the table? Sorry, you guys, we have to pause because Alec is under the table right now. We cannot continue. Alec, are you good?
Yes.
Okay. So right now, if I log in, and I go to Pages, and I go to my home page, and I go to Add Media, and if I say Media Library, upload it to this page. Right now, there are no images uploaded to my home page. Instead, how the FlexSlider on my home page is being called is, if I go back to the Dreamweaver, right now I have hard-coded on my front-page.php the FlexSlider in div with the class FlexSlider and a UL class of slides. Sorry, Milo. It's that time of the quarter, right?
Okay.
It's that time of the quarter. And then the images are inside list items. The images currently reside in my images folder, right? Slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, okay? But is this a practical way for a client to then continually upload and edit images in their homepage slider? For instance, if I were to show you your most favorite example in the world, yeah, totally, go on there. I can hear the people at home going, oh no, he's gonna go back to JensenImprov.com. I hate that site even though it's got practical examples. Their slider here, they make images. And come on, it's working, right? Huh. I bet you they broke something. Bastards. Screw them. We're on my homepage. Because I shouldn't log into Jet Cities anyway. Oh, look, there's Jet City again on my homepage. But if we click through some of these images, right? And has that anybody ever noticed who this quote is by on this right here?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny. So if I then log in, Don't bring that up in my tenure meeting on it.
Yeah, okay.
So,
So,
I think I have enough dirt on you that I would have brought it up already.
oh yeah,
You told me about that the first quarter I was in your class.
I know. So in order to get these images in the slider, instead of them having them hard-coded in the theme, it's much more practical to, if I go to add media then, and we look at images uploaded to this page, there then are the slides that show up in the FlexSlider, okay? So if you haven't caught on by now, what we're talking about today is, and you can find this article on my business sites, create a FlexSlider gallery using attachment images in WordPress without a plugin. A long time ago, I was using a gallery that an old student wrote called JGallery. And what I would have to do every time I wanted to display a gallery in my blog, I would have to copy and paste shortcode. Remember shortcode, like the contact form, right? So shortcode then would access the function JGallery. JGallery would go and, for instance, this was taken from, right? So there's my cute little boy when he was 2.5 sitting on the bunk bed I made him. So if I wanted to have a blog that I wanted to be able to upload pictures to these postings, right? And be able to then cycle through a slideshow, drill, baby, drill, arg, right? What I would do then is I would have to go and with the plugin, copy and paste the shortcode over and over again. That would then link to the plugin. It would then pull the photos that I would. So if I then logged into my blog here, that shortcode would access the function and it would then pull the photos that were uploaded to this blog posting or page, then display as a gallery. Does that make sense? Well, I got tired of having to copy and paste that shortcode after a while. So I thought to myself, why didn't I just do this? So if we go to my theme for my blog, Mike's Desk Mess, and we go to single.php, which is the single posting, you can see here then just above the written content, right? So if I close this, the written content from this posting, just above that, add FlexSlider. Right? So I hard-coded a function in there that then would be part of my template, right, for single posting. So that function then I tucked away into my functions.php file. And basically that function, what it would do was, so here's the function, add FlexSlider. You guys are getting at this point in time that this is how you write a PHP function and tuck it away in your functions file to be called from a template, right? No questions on that? Okay. Again, post, don't forget the global post, because we are going to use that object variable here. Okay. So basically what this does is attachments. So let's make a variable called attachments, and that variable uses the WordPress getChildren function. What does getChildren refer to? Well, getChildren retrieves attachments, revisions, or subpages, possibly by a post parent. Okay? Attachments. Every time we upload a photo, to a posting, it then, so what you're not seeing at home, guys, is me doing air quotes. That photo attaches itself to this posting. So it is now an attachment of that posting. So what we need to do is get that attachment. Does that make sense? Right? Get that attachment for the post ID, order it by ascending or order it however you want to, order by menu order. So what do I mean by menu order? Well, if I was here, I could come on. I should be able to, why are you not letting me do it? WordPress, what's going on? I should be able to order these. Let's try this. I should be able to move. Come on, man. What the, why do they do this to me?
Because you're on film.
I'm on film. I should be able to move these, order them. WordPress, what are you guys doing to me? What did they do? Well, you're supposed to be able to drag and drop these, and why they're not doing it, I don't know. Something, we'll take another look later on. It's always something new. Okay. Post type, attachment, post mime type, image. So then in this function, we have to say, if there are attachments to the posting, what does attachments equal? This is where we can start writing out our function. You guys ready to do that? Sure, why not? So here's what I'm going to do. This whole begin FlexSlider thing right here. I'm going to comment that out. Actually, just like I did before, I am going to just comment out the old HTML or the static HTML. So first thing I want to do then is start a function. I'm just going to say get FlexSlider, right? I'm going to save that. Whoops. Okay. So now if I go to my I totally closed that window, didn't I? Damn it. Nope. So now if I go to my home page, fatal call to undefined function, get FlexSlider. Well, so the functions file. For the time being, I'll just have a function that says FlexSlider goes here. So now if I go back and refresh, it should say FlexSlider goes here. So we still need to write up this markup, right? So basically, what I did was then I'm going to need div class FlexSlider, UL class slides. Okay. I'm also going to need the list items, but we're not ready to do that yet. Okay. But if I then refresh, right, you're going to see nothing really, or look what's there. The FlexSlider box with the shadow, right? So we inspect that. We now have our div class FlexSlider, UL class slides, and it looks like it's ready to work because we've already hooked up FlexSlider, okay? The next thing I want to do is, well, I could have done this at any time, but if I go to edit this page, add media, I want to upload files, and I want to select files. So right now in my O drive, in my WEB170, in my HTML, in my Spring 16, in my content, in my themes folder, in my actual theme, in my images folder, right? That's where I originally had my slide 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so instead of just housing them in my theme, I need to upload them to my dashboard, to my WordPress admin. I'm going to say open, right? And now if I say uploaded to this page, it shows me that I have 3 images uploaded to this page, okay? Notice it says attachment details over here, right? So we can see that those are attached to this page. Everybody's with me so far, right? Okay. So let's go back to the function add FlexSlider, okay? So again, we need to say the post object, a variable for the post object, is global. And again, I always like to say this. Next, I want to make a variable and say attachments equals get children. Okay, so again, I am saying now, I'm going to use the get children function, right? So again, if we go back to the get children function, it's the same kind of thing. Are you guys getting used to this yet? We are going to pass through a set of arguments. We're not going to worry about output, right? But we are going to pass through a set of arguments, which is going to be stored in an array, right? So we have then number of posts, post parent, post type, right? Post status, post MIME type, okay? So post MIME type is where you then get image, video, or audio? No, just image or video, okay? So basically what we need to do is then go back here, and in the get children, we need to start an array to then pass those key value pairs through, right? First key value pair that we want to do is post parent. Why do we care about post parent?
Starting point to find the children.
What do I mean by post parent post ID?
It's
need
the,
some,
oh, sorry.
I was gonna say you need someplace to actually place the FlexSlider, and that's getting the ID number on the post to put the FlexSlider on.
So the UL, so you can get the children.
Let's say we had 4 attachments to a post. These are children of that post. So what we have to say is so these are still in themselves post objects, as far as I understand, right? So for instance, I'll do it in a second on the screen, right? These are attachments. So they are children of this posting. Does that make sense? I like this going back and forth between the screen and the, okay? So for instance, if we are in my portfolio section and we go to websites and this image right here, this is a child of that page or posting. So this is an attachment image. So now it says edit media. So this attachment is then, again, an object. Does that make sense? That has properties like title, etc. So what we need to do then is say, for the attachment, we need to go see what the post parent and log its post ID, right? It's about as clearly as I can describe that. Order. Sending. I am also then going to say, well, ascending according to how I actually order it. So menu order, right? Remember how I was trying to ship that stuff around? That would be the menu order. We always then have to declare the post type, which in this case, it is attachment. We then have to say it is post MIME type. An image. Okay. So that's basically then our variable of, hey, let's go get that attachment. There are images, we're going to order them by this, and so on and so forth. Okay? Does that make sense? So now that, oh, we forgot. So now we have to then say, well, if attachments write up that markup, right? Again, all we've done is set the stage for, if we go back here, we visit the home page. Hey, look, nothing's really happened. Okay. But if we say, if not attachments, I always like to put extra parentheses. So if there aren't attachments, write up the FlexSlider markup, right? So I'm basically doing a test. Is this really writing the code that I want it to write? Well, there are attachments, right? That said, only write that out if there aren't attachments. Does that make sense? So I know something's working there. It is checking to see if there are attachments. So now, what do we do here? How do we then fill this gap in? We have our starting markup, we have our closing markup, we have attachments to get there. What do we need to do? What's the programming concept that we need? How many attachments are there? Huh? 3. What if there were 5? What if there were 2?
Same.
Just what?
Do you need to do a loop?
That's what I'm looking for. A standard loop? What type of loop?
For each.
For each. For each attachment, because for each attachment, I need to write an image tag inside of a list item tag, because that's how FlexSlider works, right? For each attachments as what? Who remembers what a Foreach loop does? Why do I have the as statement? Why don't I just say for each attachments and move on with my day?
Because as lets you choose a better name.
What do I don't care what the name is? Why should I choose a better name? Isn't attachments just fine?
It's not terribly descriptive.
Doesn't have anything to do with function, huh? Wait,
And I cheated and looked it up, but it's so that it can actually, I know, And so you can actually record the last value in the array.
So basically,
Stop or?
this value attachments, right?
Yeah, reference of a dollar value in the last.
Let's put it this way.
Remain even after for each loop.
We are going to need to pass some kind of a, let's say it like this. I'm going to put my for each loop in there. And I'm going to do that, just say that, and it's going to tell me I have an error there. So one thing, it won't let me do it without it, right? But if I'm saying then echo, I need to open up a list item. And I need to then close that list item, okay? So for each attachment, write an opening and closing list item, right? For each attachment, write an image tag. Probably not even going to work, right? Function line 114. Here's how I understand this. If let's go to where this really drove that concept home for me a long time ago, or last spring. If I go to my school theme, and I go to functions, and I go down to get my main menu. Main pages, get pages, array, meta key, blah, blah, blah for main, right? So what I had to do, and what took me a long time, was I had to stuff these list pages things with the meta key navigate meta value class, meta key navigation, meta value. My sub navigation is all separated into things. As well, right? So my school actually, can I bring this up in just a new? Let's just do it like this. So if we're in responsive view like this, I had to then tuck all the line in between this. Well, my navigation, my main navigation, where I didn't have to do sub navigation in my main navigation because it wasn't responsive, right? Nobody cared. Woo! We got our main navigation up there, and there's no drop down. So what do we care about sub navigation in there? Then it became responsive, and I had to deal with that. It took me a long time to get there. So what I had to do then was I couldn't do a regular list pages function for all the main pages. Why? Because I had to stick a set of subpages in between each main page. So I was stuck. Well, what did I have to do? I had to then say main pages, get pages, array, navigation, main, to list for each one of these. For each main page, list it out. And then in between those, do the sub-navigation. So here's what really drove the Foreach loop home for me. For each main pages as main. Well, what do you mean? Well, if I am then inside this for each loop, I am going to have to say, so again, if is page main ID. If is page main as main pages equals get pages meta key navigation value main. Does that trail make sense to you? Right? So in other words, I can't inside this function for each, I can't use the variable main pages here. So I have to call it something else so it doesn't all get confused. Does that make sense? That's how I understand a for each loop, right? I'm sure I could understand a for each loop much better than that, but that's how I understand it. Does that make sense? Okay, so I used this attachment ID, that attachment there. In my business one, let's see what I did in my business one. Attachments as attachment, so that I can down here say attachment ID, right? So this is where you would typically use post ID. Does that make sense? To get something? Totally makes sense to me. So I'm just going to make it quick and dirty for each attachments as attachments. So instead of writing out an image tag, apparently I want to open up Word. It's apparently what I want to do here. Because that was fun. Instead of an image tag, I'm going to use WP get attachment image. And this is where I need to say attachment ID I think I want to pull full here. Okay, so let's go take a look. Let's look up get attachment image. So we need to say the ID, size, icon, attributes, et cetera, et cetera. So just like I am saying the ID of main, which is main equals main pages, or as main pages, which gets these pages, right? I need to do it for whatever ID it is. I know, is that kind of fuzzy a little bit? Whatever, different ways of doing it. But basically I want to say, get the attachment, right? Attachment ID full. So now, I then have my list items, and inside my list item, it's gotten the full size image and all its parameters. I could even go further than that, right? And this is where in my business one, I'm also getting the post field for attachment ID, right? Meaning I can get the caption, I can get the description, I can get the other, in other words, I can get the URL, the title, the caption, alt text, and description if I want to, right? So that's how then I, on my home page here, put that information. This is basically the information from the description field, right? Ta-da. Does this show you right here? Oh man. Hopefully what this just inspired you to do is, there's not a goddamn thing that I can't pull out of WordPress. Why do I need a plugin for everything? I just got to figure out what I need to pull and how to present it, right? So, for instance, again, remember, or let's say services, search engine optimization. What I needed to do was, I needed to go and get a posting by number, get its title, get its image, get its excerpt, and present it. So if I edit this page right here, here's also how you can use shortcode, right? So what I did was I used shortcode basically as a function. Case study, ID 2051. Once I realized that this was Adam, so remember how we were talking the other day, you were like, holy shit, WordPress, the power of it. This is when you really realize there's not a damn thing I can't do. I don't need a plugin for everything. Plugins just get in my way. How long did it take me to write that function? 15, 20 minutes. I wrote that quicker than I could go find a plugin, right? So if you know what you're doing, of course. But if we go to my business one, in my functions file, I really encourage you to look at my functions file for my business one, right? So what I did for featured case study, get featured case study, pass an argument which is basically an ID of a posting, right? Write out the markup, get the case link. Case link equals get permalink by my posting ID. My posting equals get post. Pass my post ID through there. My post ID equals the way that you pass the posting ID through it, right? So remember in WEB200, guys. My design is if you are on a gateway page here, go get the title and the excerpt and put a read more link for the children pages, right? We'll take a look. If I go and edit this page, I don't have anything here. I have the text, that text there, right? That equals this text. So how am I getting the rest of those titles and excerpts? Well, on my page template, right, I am using a function, get child pages. And what I really should do as a signifier of, instead of get child pages, this alludes, and this is kind of where I've gone wrong, right? Not wrong, but what I could have done better is instead of saying get child pages, because you might be inclined to think that, oh, get child pages is a WordPress function that I could go and find in the WordPress codex, correct? Wrong. It is a function that I wrote. That's where I should say get my to signify that I wrote the function, right? That's what I do from now on. But if I go and look at get child pages, here is that function. Again, global post, rewind posts, stops any previous loops, right? So it's a secondary loop that I have to write. Query posts, array, post type, page, post per page, -1, post status, publish, post parent, so on and so forth, right? So to get those child pages, instead of using a plugin, I said, write an article tag, get the child ID, get the permalink, get the title, get the excerpt, get the permalink, the excerpt, child excerpt equals post, post excerpt, right? So if I know how to get the excerpt, I just need to get it for a specific post, right? Or a specific set of posts, meaning the children of whatever parent page we're on. Does that make sense? So this is the kind of stuff that I am going to really encourage you guys to do, Adam, in the Web 210 class this summer and fall. For those rudimentary things, don't go get a plugin that you have no idea how it works. Write it your damn self in 15 lines of code. It's the 2 years ago.
Yeah, I can't hear you back here.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Oh, if I know how to go and get anything, any object, any post object, based off of its ID, I can then get the properties of said object, like title, like permalink, right? Like excerpt, so on and so forth. This really, hopefully, this really puts your fundamental programming, object-oriented programming stuff into a real, like, working knowledge base, right? It does, doesn't it? How many of you have taken 250?
I'm in it right now.
Okay, and you're going over object-oriented programming, right? You're just working with a pre-existing framework. You're working with pre-existing objects, right?
And that's 260 is framework.
No, 250 is object-oriented. 240 is fundamental programming, 250 is object-oriented, right? And 260 is frameworks.
Right, that's what I said.
Yeah.
260
Well,
is
so WEB170 is the WordPress framework
right.
using 240 and 250 methodologies.
Right,
If you look at it that way, right?
right, yeah.
So, yeah, so for me, like I said, Adam, you've just realized that there's not a damn thing you can't do in WordPress, right?
How many lines of code is the plugin that would do that? you think?
Probably a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what I started doing. When I first started a couple of years ago, you know, as I was really starting to push my programming, object-oriented programming stuff, right? I just, like I said, I made the decision of, nah, screw that plugin, right? Because when I, for my get my case study postings, I originally used a plugin. And what I had to do was I had to edit that plugin to put a link around the image tag. So I could link the thumbnail to the posting. So basically I broke the plugin. And that's where I was like, wait a second. After I wrote that FlexSlider thing, I was like, wait a second. Why don't I just go about it the same way? All I'm doing with that FlexSlider plugin is I'm setting up the object to call, and I'm accessing properties of said objects or objects to then write in a set of list items. Why can't I do the same thing? And once that clicked, I was like, oh, again, pseudocode. Write down what you want to do. I'm for this parent page or for this gateway page, I want to grab its children. And its children, I want the title, the excerpt, and permalink. Excerpt, title, I have to get the ID, and permalink. Those are then the 4 properties of said object. For while, write it out in this markup, because this is nothing more than your typical loop right there, right? It's a secondary loop because it goes after the get the content. The get the content is that one paragraph, and then you have to get the children. So you have to write a secondary loop. Instead of writing it spaghetti code style in the template page, I have started writing it just in the functions file to kind of keep it nice and tight, right? Because Portia made fun of me for spaghetti code.
What is spaghetti code?
Spaghetti code is when you're writing a lot of conditional statements and for each loops in your template page, your markup stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's spaghetti code. Doesn't mean it's wrong. This is just more programmer organized, software engineer organized. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but once I realized that, oh man, everything is an object with properties in WordPress. Oh my God. That was just such a breakthrough to me that I can go and get anything I need.
Do you have a lecture on your site of what you went over today?
It's on my business site.
Okay.
I didn't go in that lecture as in depth, right? But this is being recorded, this video.
Yeah.
So
I like having.
sure. Yeah, the FlexSlider thing is here. Create a FlexSlider using, right, the challenge. Again, FlexSlider, and then it goes through how to link up FlexSlider, and then it shows you my function, which I then describe here, the get children function, etc. Get attachment images, get post field, etc. Right? But it doesn't talk, I guess, concept of object orientated stuff. But you know, once I realized that, yeah, oh shit, all I'm doing is object-oriented programming, or I'm doing programming, getting objects out of a framework. That's all I'm doing in WordPress. Once I realized that, it was just like,
Next, we want to go take ITC 250. I think we covered a little bit of that toward the end of 240.
maybe.
It's not,
My understanding of 240 is it's more rudimentary programming,
yeah.
right?
250, you'll be swimming in objects. Objects in SQL will become your best friends, or your worst enemies. But yeah, you'll be swimming in like classes and methods and objects and structure.
Let's put it this way. I'll bet it's interesting. I'm not familiar with the curriculum.
Okay. Is it part of the design curriculum? or is
No.
it-
No,
development.
development.
Yeah, it used to be 280, 290, and then it got switched to 240, 250, 260. Because 216 got changed from Perl to kind of rudimentary programming with PHP. So we took that whole ball of wax and made it in basically into PHP 1, 2, and 3, which has become Web Apps 1, 2, and 3. And as far as my knowledge base goes, 240 is programming with PHP, 250 and getting into database stuff, and then 250 is object-oriented programming with PHP, really pushing the database stuff. Is that a pretty good
Yeah,
description?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like,
Yeah.
we had 2 or 3 weeks of just SQL review.
Yeah.
So if you take the SQL class ahead of time, then you're like ahead of the game. So like we're learning how
That's just
to,
the databases class?
yeah,
Yeah.
like you learn how to write like inner joins and all that.
But if you want to be like designer, front-end developer, right? Like what I'm doing here in WordPress is front-end development, right? Because I'm not creating any database tables and writing any SQL queries to query any database tables. I could, right? There's no reason why I couldn't add in any database tables into the WP database and query them. I'm just not doing that. So WordPress then is geared for the front-end developer like me, who can then use that and really push it to front-end develop with that back-end framework, whatever they want to, for small to medium-sized business clients, nonprofit organizations, et cetera, like what you guys will be doing this summer, right? Where I give you guys, in other words, you want to see your clients this summer?
Like now? Yeah. How many people are in that class?
Right now, there's 12 to 14.
Oh, okay.
So there's going to be one drop that's on the roster, and another person, I have to talk to them a little bit about some stuff. So basically there are 12 people in there, and that's why I did that survey, to see what your skill set was, so I can make even teams of 4, both design and development, right? So there's going to be a couple of people in there that have not taken WordPress. You're on the side of you've taken Web 200 and WordPress and 240, so you have the whole gamut of skills for that class. So you're going to be a power player in that class. So I have then, if you look at these client surveys, summer 2016, this woman participated last year, and her project last year was this. Actually, why don't I just go? So this was, oh, page not found. Uh-oh. There we go. Her mother has Alzheimer's. She created a nonprofit organization called the Art of Alzheimer's, where she has patients with Alzheimer's paint. And then they have exhibitions and stuff. So this right here is a Web 2.10 project. So she now is participating this summer for Endangered Species Project. Yes, what I did, that survey on my website, right? Then I just saved that survey as a text file, and put it up there so you guys have an intake survey to then interview with. But yeah, so it's funny thing on the Art of Alzheimer's, right? Look at this gallery thing going on right here. Does that look familiar? Because that's what we just did. In other words, they use that FlexSlider functionality.
This is maybe WordPress.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, that's basically 2.10. Going from the client survey through information architecture, wireframe, visual design, templates, or prototypes. Because what you guys are going to have to do is you're going to, because it's such a condensed order, you're going to have to kick out a WordPress. You're going to have to kick out a prototype theme based off the wireframes. And then once the visual design is approved, incorporates that visual design into.
God, that sounds like a ton of work for you.
Yeah. But with 4 people on the team,
Yeah, I'm getting married this summer.
I would postpone that.
And see what I can do.
Or you're going to have fun.
It's just gonna be a rough week.
Yeah. 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 You don't still get paranoid, do you? You don't still get paranoid, do you? Because I could, give you some wedding presents as well. So.
No, that'll make things worse. Appreciate y'all.
Huh?
Appreciate y'all.
Sure. See how that's on video? I know. Yeah. Okay, so go put your flex. So for those of you at home, the FlexSlider is not an official assignment. You can do it or not. But I think a lot of you guys that are in here, you can do it, Selby. I know you. You did?
Yeah.
Good. Along with us right here?
Yeah.
Nice.
Why do you think it's twice?
Hodor.